Welcome to Born to Hustle. I am Roham Carrion. I am here with Kalvin. He is a men's health coach. He's been doing it around for 6 years. And Kalvin, I have a question for you.
I'm ready. First one.
How do you feel?
How do I feel?
Yeah.
I felt great.
Awesome.
Had a little bit of coffee this morning, a little bit of caffeine coursing through my veins. So I'm ready to go.
Awesome.
How do you feel?
I feel great. Do you have any idea? Dude, I've been doing a couple episodes lately, and something that I've been learning a lot is like everybody has definitely got a story. And sometimes when we go into the hustle, I've noticed that you really are not the only one that goes through a lot of bad stuff in life. Like you acknowledge it. Like I see your videos. I see your content. I see everything that you've been doing lately. And it looks like you're doing very, very, very well. But I'm pretty sure that's not exactly how it started. So out of curiosity, what made you decide and ignited the hustle for you to become a men's health coach?
Well, it depends on how you define things going well, things not going well. Because your measure of success in what you're doing is not always about the numbers. Numbers are there to just make sure you're heading in the right direction. But as long as you're still moving, as long as you're being consistent, that's testimony as to things are working. And as long as you're growing, because that's really what matters. And so, like you said, I mean, some days are great, some days are not so great, but that's okay. Like, you don't rely on things being good or things being bad to continue to make content or continue to help clients. It's just like some days are good, some days are bad. So, yeah, I guess your main question was what ignited the hustle? Where did it start?
Yes.
Man, I don't have like that great of a story. I wish I could tell you. I've been trying to like make up this super cool, origin story. I mean, I have a couple different stories that I like to tell. One of my favorite ones is like the short, fat, chubby version of Kalvin, when I was 12 years old. I mean, honestly, I didn't hate being fat.
What do you mean?
Okay, so what I mean by that is I had way more credibility with my humor when I was fat. People thought I was so funny because I could like easily, dial into just making fat jokes. And then people would be like, oh, God, this guy's fat. Like, fat jokes, this is funny. And so I had so much more credibility with being funny. And so, like, all jokes aside, I think that, I mean, you're 12 years old and you're starting to say like, oh, wow, like girls are kind of cute. And, that'd be cool if girls actually thought that I was, attractive. And so then you start looking at the, guys that girls find attractive and you're like, whoa, like they don't like the tubby guy,
Oh,
so
yeah, like,
that's what ignited the hustle.
That's when you realize like being fat and funny is no longer gonna cut it.
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
now
well,
you gotta step it up.
Yeah,
Because that's exactly what I thought. It's like I was fat and I was okay with it because I got credibility. It's like, yeah, because you had no choice. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what ignited the hustle. And this is what I always tell people is within my program, the number one thing that people can walk away with is learning how to take imperfect action. So I legitimately remember one night we came home from a Bible study or something. And it was, I had tried a few times. Actually, I'd never tried to get in shape, but my mom would try to, get us in shape. And I remember specifically, she made us run around the block, and I have two brothers, older brother, younger brother. My younger brother's 6 years younger than me. So he's like, I mean, he's young at 12 years old, he's 6 years old. And so we go run around the block, and our neighborhood is, the worst running neighborhood of all time because it's got all these hills. So we run around the block, and I literally almost die. Like, I'm like literally crying, and I'm sobbing because I can't make it around the block. I'm like walking, and like my little brother, he like passes me because he's tiny legs. He's 6 years old. And so like my mom had tried to promote, this igniting this passion in my heart to become fit. And I just didn't really see any, like when someone else is telling you to do something, it makes you not want to do it even more.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, growing up, I used to be very responsible doing my shows, but the moment they told me to do it, I'm like, you know what, bro, I'm not going to do it anymore.
Yeah, I think that's just me though. I'm kind of like a very independent, like freedom-driven person. And so like when someone tells me what to do, I'm like, I just want to do the opposite. Or I want to prove you wrong. And so then I think that once it became like a decision of mine, literally that night I got home from the Bible study, I stepped out of the van and I just started running. Like literally, it was like Forrest Gump. And I remember I ran around the block, almost died. And I was like, all right, that was, that's the start. And then probably every single night, I mean, I don't want to say every single night because it's probably not accurate. I didn't miss a single night. But 90% of the time, I would just go for a run every single night, and I would just go as long as I could without stopping. And so, I just jog. And again, the reason I tell people to take imperfect action is because the most optimal thing is always the most practical thing. So, bringing this maybe back to a little bit of business talk is, well, what's better, for the hustle, or what's better for making money? Is it, having 10 businesses or one big business? It's like whichever one is most practical for you, whichever one you enjoy, whichever one you can stick with. And so when people start off with their fitness journey, the first thing I can get them to do within my program is just take imperfect action. Because if you can't do that, then you're never going to learn. You're never going to be able to grow, because that's the first step. So you just have to have a decision to take imperfect action. And that was what I did. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know how to eat healthy. I didn't even know the right things to eat. I just knew that, okay, well, salad's probably better than the double cheeseburgers I was eating. So I started eating salad instead of double cheeseburgers. Well, water is probably better than soda. So I started drinking water instead of drinking all the soda. I completely cut soda out. I've actually haven't had, and I'm not all for like cutting things out, but there is a reality that you have to have a little bit of non-negotiables with yourself. And so one of the things that I did was I cut out soda. I haven't had soda, since. And not to say that I haven't had other things that are just as sugary, just as bad as soda, but it was just one of those little non-negotiable things. I was like, you know what? It's tangible. I don't need this. No more soda. So that was kind of what started it. That's what ignited it. And then what got me into the teaching people about how to do this stuff is, again, not a wow, aha, like amazing, I had like something tragic happen or whatever. It wasn't even the fact that I used to be fat and, now I want to help people out. There's a little bit of that, and there's truth to that. But I was working with my dad. He's a light bulb salesman. And so I started that. I graduated early out of high school, and I started working with him when I was 16 years old. And so I thought that I was going to do that for the rest of my life. I thought I was going to be a light bulb salesman. So I really enjoyed that. My dad was a great boss. And then one day work was just piling up, and he's like, you know what? I don't need this. I'm going to step down as manager. So we got this new manager, and this guy was the biggest buffoon I've ever met. Okay. And so I'm the type of person, if someone cuts me off in traffic, okay, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They cut me off in traffic. Hey, you know what? They're probably headed to the hospital because their baby is about to be born, So that's the type. I try to be as generous with people as possible, because there's this quote. It's never attribute malice to what you can contribute to incompetence. So it's like, give people the benefit of the doubt. It makes your life so much easier. So if I say that this guy was a big buffoon, I mean, this guy was a racist. This guy was he was insane. So I had to get out of that job. I had to get out of that somehow. And so the first inclination was, okay, I've been doing this fitness thing for a while. Let's see if I can teach people how to do this. And I had friends that knew that I used to be the fat guy. Now I'm kind of the in shape guy. So they'd always ask me for advice. And so I started giving them advice, and was kind of essentially training people for free, giving people free advice. I was like, well, let's see if I can actually pursue this as a career. So, I got certified, started working at a commercial gym. And so that's what ignited the fire was, I don't know, used to be fat. And then,
you basically got into it. Basically, you got
out of necessity, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I mean, I don't relate to what it means to be fat. But I have eaten like one, that's for sure. So when you say like, oh, probably a salad is better than a cheeseburger, and I'm like, absolutely not. I'll eat a cheeseburger at all times. I will refuse to eat a salad. Anything that grows out of the earth is probably a sin to me. Legit, I don't eat any vegetables. I freaking hate them. And it's not even because I
don't really eat many vegetables.
You know what's interesting though? I used to eat vegetables when I was a kid. Now as an adult, I refuse. Legit. The only way I eat my vegetables is by cutting them and basically mixing it. And
you gotta get an air fryer, bro.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't. What?
You gotta get an air fryer, dude. The vegetables in the air fryer are fire.
I have never tried them on an air fryer, to be honest.
You don't have an air fryer?
I do.
Okay, dude.
Well, it's for chicken nuggets, though.
That air fryer will change your life. Put some vegetables in there. It's amazing.
Huh.
Put anything in there, dude.
Do you know that technically tomatoes are actually a fruit?
I've heard that.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Yeah, well, it's mostly because the law and also like basically, anything's around it. Whatever. It's just out of curiosity because I hate tomatoes and so I hate vegetables. And some guy tells me like, "Whoa, they're actually fruit, so you're just full of F." And I'm like, "What? I'm not.
I'm like, darn it! I was trying to eat vegetables.
I'm trying to be healthy.
Yeah.
I want to grow. I want to be big. People want to lose weight. I want to gain weight.
Mm.
That's what I've been telling everybody. Dude, this is the first year I'm finally a medium. If you would have met me last year, I used to wear small. I'm not kidding. So I definitely need to eat better. That's for sure. And by eat better, I mean I need to eat a lot more. Something about that just sounds very appetizing. So don't be talking about food in front of me, bro. I'll be eating.
Yeah.
So now that we know what ignited your hustle, and I mean, not everybody needs to basically get ran over by a car in order to have the best hustle story.
That's right.
Not
You just have to have the decision to do it.
Yeah, legit, honestly. You talk about accountability a lot as well through your posts, right? How come that you talk about that a lot?
Let's see. So accountability, it depends on who you're talking to. Because the people that I work with, I don't work with anyone that is not already disciplined or motivated, especially because I do online coaching and the things that I do within my program. Online coaching is not good for unmotivated people. Online coaching is that's why there's in-person stuff. That's why I don't do in-person anymore. And I can maybe give a little bit of backstory to that in a minute. But people who need someone to hold their hand, there's a specific type of person that can help them. I'm not that person. I'm not going to hold people's hand. And the people because there's this guy that is very influential with the way that I train people, the way that I coach people. His name is Charles Poliquin. He's the greatest, most decorated strength coach of all time. He's trained over, I think it's 200 Olympic athletes, 23 Olympic gold medalists 26 Olympic gold medalists, 23 different sports. So he's kind of like this guru for not just helping people get strong, but his methods and techniques are different because they've worked across multiple different sports. So that's kind of why he's really popular. And so one of the things when people ask him, like, what is the key to success? Why do all your athletes have success versus other people's athletes? And he said, well, I went to Russia one time and I wanted to know the difference between the Russian weightlifters and the American weightlifters because the Russian weightlifters were blowing everyone out of the water, right? And so he said the biggest difference between the Russian weightlifting team and the American weightlifting team was athlete selection. So they just chose better athletes. They chose the people with just better predispositions for success. So if I want to have people who are successful within my program, I have to have pre-qualifying aspects that already create the probability of success at a much higher degree than someone who is not motivated. So to answer your question, why do you talk about accountability so much? It's not because the people that I coach need accountability, right? It's because you need structure and you need a little bit of education, because anyone who knows anything about succeeding knows that the quickest way from point A to point B is by having someone who's already done it before. And so a lot of times, if the reason I talk about accountability is because I can just give people an ebook. I can just give people videos to watch, right? But there's an aspect when you have a mentor, when you have someone walking with you through it, when you have someone that you can talk to every single week about your progress, how everything is going, then it makes the process 10 times more effective and efficient. So I would say accountability is important for efficiency. And there's three things that are really important within my program that are helpful for people. It's accountability, structure, and education. So you need all of those layers to have success, but you need to start with a person that is already motivated, already disciplined. Because if you don't start with that, then you're going to use all your time trying to motivate them and give them pep talks when, and that's not going to bring about sustainable change. So, if you want, you can go to someone else to get all that out of the way if you want to do that. But the people that, work with me, it's like, all right, you're already a specific type of person. You're already there. So we just need to get you the right information and then help you implement it properly, and then you'll succeed. It's so much easier when you work with people that are like that.
I actually 1,000% believe you on that, but not on the workout world, but mostly in the business world in general. Even when I build a team, having accountability, it has become so much easier to manage compared to someone that you basically, because I don't want to say in a mean way because I know my brother, he has employees now. He's slowly becoming a white collar in his industry. So he's a CNC machinist.
Mm.
Anything that you can imagine out of metal, he has become basically a prodigy in that industry. He's been doing very, very, very well. And now that he's in the white collar industry, where now he has operators and people underneath him and stuff like that, and he's basically growing the company that he works at. He's like telling me like he's coming for me for advice. He's like for management of employees because I used to manage some. I don't know if you have your own team and stuff like that. But personally, having accountability has really helped out in regards to efficiency because if you're if you're macromanaging, like that's taking way out of your time. Imagine that every single conversation, every single phone call, you're doing stuff as a business owner, and you always have to text, what are they doing? What's going on? Are they productive? What they should be doing? Have you asked yourself what you need to be doing after? Do I need to tell you everything from scratch? Like, it's the same thing as like looking for a BA. And my brother's telling me like, this guy does not work. And no sirve. Like, he's useless. And I'm like, what do you mean? I have to tell him everything.
Yep.
Everything. And I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, I have to tell him everything or else he's not going to do anything. And if something goes wrong, he always has anything can be its fault, but not him. Anything.
Yeah. So maybe you can break accountability down into two different subcategories. So you have your accountability where you're hand holding, and then you have accountability where you're giving people ownership. And the people that are accountable with the ownership are the people that succeed because they're taking the information, they're making it their own. And so then that's what creates sustainability because people don't see me as like, okay, here's this coach. He's going to be the one that gets me there, right? If they see me as kind of like this, I don't know, maybe in too high of a light, then they're going to rely on me to get them the results. When the purpose of my program is to not convince them that my program is the thing that's going to get them from point A to point B. My goal is to let them realize and understand that they hold the power to get them to point A to point B. So just giving them the right information and then giving them ownership of that information and being like, all right, do this. Okay, cool. People that are motivated, disciplined, boom, it's easy.
Yeah,
they do that.
Legit. They have initiative.
Yeah.
They will do it. They get what it takes and stuff like that. So I completely agree with you. So now that I understand more about your program and stuff like that, I'm pretty sure, like, is that what kept you into the hustle? What is it that kept you doing this for, even though we know, like, what is a few, I know there's some pros and there's some cons. Like, what are the cons and what kept you in the hustle and what are the pros?
So I would start with maybe like another story. So once I started at LA Fitness, that's where I started training people. I learned very quickly that, first of all, they're just a money machine, right? So they were 25-minute sessions. So people would come in there and they would show up 15 minutes late. We'd have 10 minutes. And you're like, what are you going to do? How in the world are you going to help someone in 10 minutes? So I realized that, okay, well, in-person training is kind of I guess you could call it a sham. You know, there's purpose for it. And the more I've been doing this, the people that are succeeding, the people who are successful, they're the ones that I would take those 25 minutes and instead of giving them a workout, I would give them a workout program. And we would just sit there and talk about the other things that were happening outside of the session. And that's what actually gave them results. So even from the get-go, the people that saw results were not the people that worked out with me for 25 minutes once or twice a week. They were the people that I sat down with in those 25 minutes and said, hey, how is everything else going? How are you sleeping? How's your nutrition going? I would educate them within that session, being like, this is how much protein you need to be getting. This is the system that you kind of need to be applying to the rest of your life. And so the focus with in-person training, the problem with that is the focus is on the session. And plus you're paying by the session, right? You're paying hourly. And so that trainer is only committed to you for the hour. So what do they care if you do on the weekend? What do they care, the whole rest of the time where the results actually happen? So the cool thing about online training or online coaching is that the entire focus is everything that happens outside of your workouts. And it's about ownership. And so that's kind of like what I started seeing when I was at LA Fitness is I was like, all right, let's start applying some of the focus outside of the session. And then I kind of started doing that. And then I created a good system. And then once you create a good system, I realized that, oh shoot, all I'm doing is counting reps. All my clients, they know what to do. They know how much protein they need to be eating. They know the exercises and the workouts they need to be doing. I've taught them everything they need to know. Now I'm just taking their money. There's no end goal with training, right? You just go there and you're like, all right, see you next week. All right, bye. What are you working for? With coaching, it's like, all right, this is the amount of time that we're going to do. These are the processes, and this is what I'm going to teach you. And then once you're done, you should have all the tools that you need, so you don't need me anymore. Like, that's the purpose of it. So that's kind of like where the whole process started. And then to go more specifically into my niche, I had my coworker, he bet me that I couldn't dunk a basketball. So I literally had a dream one night that I dunked a basketball. And I was like, that was cool. And then literally a week after, I had another dream where I dunked a basketball. I was like, you know what? That would be cool if I could dunk a basketball. Going from this short, fat kid to like, not a couple years later, 10 years later, dunking a basketball. That would be sick. And so, it's one of those things where people say that, becoming a millionaire, the purpose of it isn't to have the money. The purpose of trying to become a millionaire is the things that you learn along the way. So I was like, you know what? If I get to a point where I can dunk a basketball, or even pursue that, then I'm going to learn a lot about myself. I'm going to learn a lot about life, and I'm going to learn a lot about training, improving, and I'll be able to help my clients better with performance, things like that. And so I started to pursue this. And so the bet was, if I can dunk a basketball by the end of the year, he'd get me a coffee mug. So literally, like, it was like December 28th or something like that, I dunked for the first time. It was off a lob. And, if people are listening to this, I'm, 5'8", and I have the complexion of a, polar bear. So everything is against me, And so it's kind of crazy. So
okay, my bad. I'm 5'6". What is that supposed to mean?
But so all I'm saying is you can dunk if you want to. But what happened was, whenever you're pursuing something, guess what happens? You fail. And one of the ways that I failed was I started kind of doing all these things that everyone recommended on social media. I didn't know what to do. I was just like, let's just try to jump. I was jumping all the time, and so. Guess what happened? I started to get knee pain. I started to get hip pain. I started to just get ankle pain, started to get tendonitis in my knees. And so I was like, oh crap. So I, got to this point. That was cool. But then I had to start backtracking, and it got me down this road of joint health and kind of mixed with like performance training. And then I was training general population. So you have, athletes and you have general population. So I was kind of in this weird realm where I was training people that were like grandmas, or 60-year-old guys. But the things I was learning was how to, get through joint pain to help athletes perform better. And so what I had to do was I had to learn how to take this stuff that I was learning and apply it to the general population. Because the reality is that we're all athletes in some sense. We all have to perform in our life in some sense. Your grandma, she just has to be able to pick the crock pot from the top drawer.
Yeah, of course.
Where, someone else, football player, he's got to perform on Sundays. Patrick Mahomes, he's got to be taking a beating. So I started to adapt the way that I was training, the way that I was coaching people into regressible and progressible exercises and means. So that's when I got into, and I started being mentored by Ben Patrick. He's known as the knees over toes guy. I'm not like super into his like ideology. I think that semantics are really important, and I think that their marketing, the way that they market, is a little bit too away from the truth than I would like to kind of agree with. But their exercises are incredible because the first principle that they start from is this idea of regressing enough to where some of these exercises your grandma could do it, and then you can also progress the same exercise if you go in within the right progress to, your stud football players or basketball players using the same exercise, but it's just like now you got 225 pounds on the bar on your back versus like your grandma where she's just, kind of holding something, assistance, and just kind of doing the exact same exercise. But it's the same exercise, regression and then progression. So I was mentored by Ben, and then Ben freaking blew up. I mean, he's all over the internet now, Knees Over Toes guy. You can go check him out. And then that got me into this whole realm of just understanding pain, understanding joint pain specifically. And then I kind of started going through this course of, it's called Range of Strength. So his name's Lucas Aaron. You can go check him out. And he's kind of this guy that I'd always thought of flexibility as this kind of yogi. You kind of like, you see the guys that are doing the flexibility and they're like kind of like weak and scrawny. They're kind of all hippie. And then you have the strong guys. You have the power lifters that are kind of, a little bit bigger. And you're like, oh, I would rather do that. Well, then Lucas came onto the scene and he's like the perfect mixture. I mean, he can do the splits. His range of motion's absolutely incredible, but he's also jacked and he also can lift. And so he was kind of the first one to introduce me to this idea. It's like, wow, you can be jacked, but you can also be extremely flexible. And so then I started to kind of dive into some of his ideologies and got, certified through the range of strength. And I started applying that again to my clients and I saw incredible results with them. People were getting out of knee pain. I started, training some athletes, helping them out of knee pain, hip pain. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool. And so that's kind of like when you talk about like, okay, well, like what kept you in the niche? I think it was just this pursuit of learning a bunch of new stuff, because when you're starting out, you don't know what you don't know. And then you start being mentored by some of these people through your own problems and your own experiences and your own failures, honestly. And then you start to, find these problems, and then you start to create your own system. You start to kind of take some of the stuff that you enjoy from your mentors, and then some of the stuff that you don't necessarily enjoy, and it kind of becomes your own thing. And so, that's kind of my main mission now, is helping men just reduce their joint pain, because that's just huge. But it's a whole system. Again, you can. And that's why social media sucks, is because you go on there and you see someone doing an exercise, and then you start doing the exercise, and then that's it. You're like, where's the sustainability? Where's the education? Where's the guidance in this? And so when you have a system to teach all this stuff, then you make sure that you're going through the process correctly. Because I again, this is something else that I failed at with my clients. And if any of my clients are listening to this, I'm sorry I failed you on this. It took me too long to figure this out. But it's this idea that you have to have the right steps in place. Okay, so you have to address the low-hanging fruit first. So if you were to come in here and say, hey, Kalvin, like my knees are really, really hurting. Can you give me an exercise to help? And I liken it to me being your mechanic. Well, you bring me your car and you're like, hey, my car's making this weird sound. Can you fix it? And I'm like, dude, your car doesn't have any wheels. You don't have any gas in your car, and you haven't changed your oil in 2 years. Let's start with those things first before we start addressing, before I start giving you these exercises. Yeah. So one of the things is, for every 1 pound of fat that you lose off your body is 4 pounds of pressure off your joints. Let's start there. Let's start with your nutrition. Let's start with your sleep, because one of the things that you learn very quickly is that pain is 100% associated with your brain. So a lot of times what happens is, I'm sure you've heard this before, is people always talk about, oh, I had this injury back in high school and it's still nagging me. You're like, what? An injury back in high school? Shoulder injury from high school? There's no damage there anymore. The tissue is healed. The tissue's fine. Well, why is there still pain? That's the thing about pain, is that pain is not necessarily an indicator of a problem, and vice versa. So just because you have pain, it doesn't mean there's actually tissue damage there. And that's the thing that just completely blew my mind when I started getting into understanding pain management. Is it's a brain problem. You have to train your brain out of pain. And so a lot of times when you do a lot of these exercises, like, again, I make a lot of videos about this, is let's say that, your doctor says, hey, you got to do planks, because that's going to help your core. Yeah. Or you see a TikToker or Instagram influencer say, hey, do this exercise for your hip and it'll get you out of pain. Yeah. Well, then you start doing that, and then you're like, wow, this actually feels pretty good, right? This feels great. Well, it's not because you're doing the plank. It's not because you're training your core. It's because you're just moving. Any movement is going to make, start the adrenaline. I mean, whenever you do a warm up, you put some music in, or heck, just try like putting on some music and just start dancing. All of a sudden your ankle's going to start to feel better. Your back's going to start to feel better, because human movement's an amazing thing. So it's not like this, this super complicated issue with why some of these things work. It's just the reality that, okay, you have to address the low-hanging fruit first. Let's get our sleep in order. Let's get our exercise in order. Let's get movement in order. Like, how often are you moving? Well, I sit at a desk all day, and, then I go home and watch TV for 2 hours. Like, yeah. Well, okay. Or, those aren't the type of people I work with. The majority of the type of people I work with, it's like, yeah, I'm, like Jim Garrett. He works 12 hours a day. He's a CEO. He's a business owner.
Yeah,
He's like,
true.
dude, like, I'm sitting all day. I'm hustling. People that are hustling, like they don't. There's little things here and there. It's like, man, if you just kind of get these low hanging fruit things out of the way, those are some really simple things that can help.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. With Jim in mind, oh gosh, I see him working. Yes, I
Hey.
personally used. Yeah, I'm in the hustle too. I had to. If you ever see me doing phone calls, I'm always walking.
Yeah.
I'm walking everywhere. It's the only way because I know what it means to be there for 8 hours a day, sitting in a desk, doing phone calls, being in my laptop, and so on. And I do feel how lazy I feel to even do anything beyond that.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah. So I completely agree. And by the way, now that I understand more about what kept you into the hustle, that actually makes so much sense. Like that, I can tell you definitely been doing this for 6 years,
Mm.
and I didn't even know about the whole what you might call it, the joint stuff,
Mm.
the pain and stuff like that, because I got back pain, but that's because of the military.
Mm.
But if you're saying that that's
a
all,
lie.
yeah,
It's a limiting belief. I'll tell
yeah,
you.
exactly. So if you're saying it like that, I'm
Not
like,
because of the military. Your brain just hasn't learned that it's okay. I'll run you through an assessment, man. One
Oh,
of these days
really?
we'll go down there. I'll run you through an assessment. I'll show you some
if
stuff
you
to do.
cure my back pain, I'll literally give you a hug and a high five.
Oh, dude. Okay, let's do it.
And then I'll give you a cup of coffee, maybe an energy drink every now. I mean, I don't think you drink energy drinks,
I
right?
don't do energy drinks.
Okay.
I used to. That was like the thing.
I used to be addicted to them.
Yeah.
Like massively addicted to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, there's nothing wrong with
I had
caffeine.
to remove it. Yeah. No, legit. I couldn't even function. I used to actually buy. So this was actually in Tennessee when I realized that I had an addiction. An addiction is actually like, normally the only bad thing about addictions, and it has to do with habits. You normally acknowledge them when you already have it.
Yeah.
And that's the only bad thing. I only acknowledge I was addicted to caffeine, specifically to energy drinks, because I couldn't, like, whenever I don't have one in my hand, like, I used to have Rockstar, Monster, specifically Nos and Rockstar more often than ever, especially the fruit punch flavor. Don't ask me why. But anyways, so when I used to have it, every time I work on my car, gosh, having an energy drink right now would be awesome. Or every time in the office, gosh, right now having an energy drink would be awesome. And like, that was used to be a continuous thing. It's like whenever I don't have one, I'm just like, dude, and like I couldn't do anything that has to do with hustle without one. It came to the point that when I realized it, I had to remove that addiction, and I was always like, my mouth used to get watery every time I see one. The smell alone, I've never smelled like every essence of energy. I was like, oh my God, dude, I cannot believe it smells this good. That's why I keep drinking it. Like that's like, I mean, have you ever seen like that one taco that really gets you tempted with the meat and everything? And then
Oh, yeah. Chilaquiles, bro.
Oh,
That's my taco.
Oh, dude, and then you're just like, you can't help it, and you're just like, dude, I have to have it. That's exactly how I felt.
I don't have to have it, but I do want it.
Well, the thing is, my friend Jonah at the time, he used to like, he's the one who drinks energy drinks as well. So whenever he opens it, I can smell it, and I was so tempted. It came to the point that I used to buy an energy drink just so I can have the weight in my hand. That's it. Didn't even drink it, nothing like that. And sometimes, and it's crazy, it went this deep. I used to buy an energy drink at the gas station so I can have the experience that I bought one.
Mm-hmm.
Tell
Oh,
me-
yeah. That's the thing. People's habits go so deep like that. Yeah.
And then you try everything to justify it. Everything, even though it's illogical.
Yeah.
But mine was that to that degree. And I remember how fat I was getting, and I was getting, and I was always moving. I was always not fat, but like fitish kind of wise, always being kind of skinny. But I saw myself like to the point that I couldn't even lift anymore. Like whenever I lift something, like I guess I got lazy. I don't know what the heck happened to my body. I don't know if I don't know how deep my addiction was. I know that it was deep enough that I needed to buy the weight just so I can have the weight in my hand. And by the time we were going to the field, because at that time I was doing sales, I used to give my friend the energy drink. So to the point that he stopped buying energy drinks because he knew I was gonna buy one so I can have the weight in my hand, and I was gonna give it to him. And I had to eat apples and stuff like that just so I can remove that addiction. It was bad. I'm telling you, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So-
That's a hard topic because there's two ways you can deal with that. And as a coach, you have to be able to find solutions that work for the client. So I had a client one time. She was just the ultimate savage mother. Like, she had 2 kids. They were in high school, and I mean, she was just go 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 go, and she was just addicted to caffeine. And so, obviously, like, optimally, you'd be like, hey, we got to get off caffeine because it's kind of destroying your mood throughout the day and fluctuating your energy levels, whatever. But the reality is like, man, she had stuff to do, you know? So maybe getting off caffeine could have been the best thing for her. And there's some supplements and stuff that you can take that make that process a lot less a lot easier, a lot less more difficult. You don't get a lot of headaches and stuff. So you can do that, or you can just say, hey, you know what we can do? Let's just try to reduce it a little bit, or maybe just say it's okay. Like, it's totally fine. Give her permission to do that, because then at least she stops worrying about it. At least she stops thinking it's a detriment, because then now that's just one less thing she has to worry about. So what happens with some of these people is they get so stressed out because they're not doing the optimal thing, right? They're not doing the morning routine. They're not, meditating. They're not breathing right, whatever. You can overstress people. You can give people paralysis by analysis just by throwing information at them.
That's true.
So the end goal is to actually help people. And so, okay, well, what is going to help this person? Maybe for this person, losing extra fat is going to help this person. Maybe for this person, gaining some muscle is going to help this person. Maybe this person doesn't have freaking time to go into the gym and gain all this muscle. So let's just walk every single morning. Just getting that one extra thing that can really help someone, and then giving them the information and the power, because people go through different seasons and different periods of their life. And so one of my mottos for my clients is maintain, make gains. So life is, if you can just maintain your progress and kind of keep your head above water, well, that's better than drowning. Yeah. And that's what a lot of people do is, they get busy, or people are hustling all the time, and they're like, oh shoot, I have a new baby, or I'm working on my new business. Forget my health. Screw that. Like, whatever. It's all or nothing. They're like, let's just drown my health for a little bit, and then while I work on my business. And then they wake up one day, they're like, oh wow, how did I get so unhealthy? It's like, well, you put it aside for 2 or 3 years while you're working on your business. If you would have just learned how to maintain, then you would have been at this starting point versus, having to work your way all the way back up. And then now you have a season in your life where you can actually, pursue getting a little bit more shredded. You can pursue, because now you have the information and the tools.
That is true.
So that's again, you have to see it as a long process. You can't just see it as like, hey, what are we going to do in the next 6 months to get you there? It's like, well, no, what are we going to give you in the next 6 months so that you can have a sustainable understanding of what you need to do for the rest of your life, so you can maintain, and then whenever you have the time, make gains.
Yeah, 1,000%. You remind me of something. Consistency is far more important than volume. So
yes,
that is far more important, and I know exactly what you mean. And this advice, I got it from somebody who trained me before, and it was like, just go to the gym, or just do it. 10 minutes, 30 minutes, even if you did a walk. If you're sore, just be there for the environment. Remember, that's your go-to place.
Yep.
And I remember, like, even to this day, I still go to the gym, but I don't challenge myself. I'm telling you this right now. I'm not lifting. Like, you're not gonna catch me sweating and heavy breathing right now. Yeah, sure, I have my moments where I have a month or two when I'm actually working out and actually trying to do so, but most of the time, it's just maintenance training.
Yeah,
I'm just doing it just to be there.
Exactly.
And you just gotta remind yourself, if you're starting, you're not an athlete, so don't start like blasting yourself with all the weights and all the workouts, because the next day you will be sore, and chances are you're not gonna come back.
Yeah.
And personally, you should come back. Just don't push yourself again. Just take it easy.
Yeah.
Pasito, pasito, dale suavecito.
Yep.
I don't know if you understood what I just said.
I have no idea, but it sounds good.
Slow and what's it called? Hold on, I have another quote. Slow is fast, or no, slow is smooth, and smooth is fast.
Yep.
I don't know if you disagree or agree, but yeah.
No, I agree.
You
Yeah. And that's the thing is, like, some days, like, it applies from a macro sense. It also applies in a micro sense. So I have one of these things. I buy one of these for all my clients. It's called the Whoop band. It's like a recovery band. And I mean, I'm not like sponsored by them or anything, but I've been wearing it for like 3 years. And one of the things I've noticed is that some days your body's doing good. Other days your body's doing bad. And so sometimes if you give yourself permission even to have bad days, that's better, because that's better than going in the gym and being like, well, today I'm not feeling it today, because it's okay. Have a bad day. It's totally fine. That's gonna be the majority of the time,
Yeah, 1,000%. What is it that you know what? Now that you're talking about it like this, you know what you just sparked in me? Some people go through some challenges, and you really thought you were not going to have a hard time?
Yeah.
Oh, so you started a business, and you really thought everything was going to go smooth. You were not going to have any challenges whatsoever. So you decided to work out, and you decided that you were just going to be perfect at all times. Like, no, let's be honest. there's gonna be challenges no matter what the heck you do. If you're
Yeah.
not working out, you're gonna face challenges. Now you're lazy in a way, and by lazy I don't mean that you're not productive and maybe you're working, you're more productive elsewhere. But by lazy I mean that you're not gonna go out there and work out. You got those
Yeah.
habits already. It's difficult sometimes.
Yep.
It's like, but guess what? What challenges you're gonna face? Pain.
Yeah.
Maybe let's just say you're in a situation where you're gonna face a circumstance where fitness maybe will be a little bit beneficial, but you're not there yet, so therefore you're definitely gonna feel it. That's for sure. So it's something that you just sparked it inside of me. So I remember every time I talk to people, even when I was in finance profession, it's like, you really thought you were not gonna face challenges? So what do you think was gonna happen? Smooth sailing? Like, what do you thought it was gonna happen?
Well, what happens and why people think that is because all people see when someone succeeded is that moment. And especially on social media, because let's say you go to my Instagram, right? You see me, oh, wow, he's a pretty fit guy. You didn't see anything else. You didn't even see that morning. You didn't even see the fact that when I woke up in the morning, I was like, I do not want to go to the gym today. All you saw was me at the gym lifting weights.
Yeah.
So what happens is people have this false idealism where they're here, and I call this the slope of success. Okay, so people say, "Ooh, look, new shiny thing. Let's go try that." They don't know all the things that are behind it. So then they go and they try this new shiny thing, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Oh wow, this is a lot harder than I was expecting." So then they see new shiny thing, and they say, "Oh, look, new shiny thing. Well, that looks better." When in reality they're here, right? So they're going up on the slope of success. And then they get to this point where it's like, ooh, new shiny thing. And then they go over here, and then they're starting to go up, and then they stop.
Yeah.
So they just keep going down. And then what happens when you go down after you realize that it's hard is you start to actually learn different things about, oh, well, this is why it's not working. Oh, let's try this. And then you start to go upwards. So that's the slope of success. You go up first, and then what happens is most people quit the second that they see, oh, look, a new shiny thing that may not be as hard. And they fall into the trap over and over and over again.
Yeah, consistency is always more important than volume, nonetheless. So if you're doing multiple streams of incomes, that's great and all. But if you have no consistency, then you're obviously gonna have that. And besides,
and if you can consistently do volume, even better.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. If you can have that magical instance, then yeah. But you're talking about a slope, right? Whoever who doesn't think that doesn't mean any challenges has never gone up a mountain.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean actually hike. Have you ever hiked a mountain? Oh, trust me, I hike mountains. I've done
my dad and my older brother. They're almost done with all the 14ers in Colorado.
Okay,
it's a classification. Anything over 14,000 feet. I think there's.
But you don't have to flex.
50
you don't
something.
have to flex.
No, I'm not flexing. That's my brother, and my dad.
Yeah, well, they're doing very well.
Yeah.
I think I went to Bridgeport once upon a time. It was 4,000 feet, and then we went up to 11,000 feet above sea level.
Nice.
But
you're like,
oh no, my actually I paid off my. Back then I used to have a Note 9. I fully paid it off, and I was so happy. And I remember going to take pictures because my fellow Marines, they all told me how up there's beautiful. I mean, it's gonna suck, ice cold water, whatever. Cool. Not the first time I heard terrible things are gonna happen to us. Cool. So by that time I got used to it. So we go up there, and I was like, dude, I'm excited to take a picture. Guess what happened to my phone? I broke it in half because it was in my pocket. I completely forgot it was in my pocket. And you know what? Even in the more I reflect on it, I remember we did cross ice cold water. What the heck was I expecting? It was still in my pocket. I completely forgot it was in my pocket, dude. I was literally watching YouTube, and it's like, we're here, go, and I'm like, oh, go. And I immediately, without thinking, I immediately went to get my the main pack and everything, and we were already getting invaded. We're already running through whatever, dude. So it was fun.
Yep. So that's what it's all about. That's what it's like.
But yeah, like the mountains, you're climbing a mountain. It's gonna hurt. Your feet are gonna hurt. Everything is gonna hurt. Now it's up to you if you wanna continue and reach to the top, which is equals to success or equals to the goal that you're trying to achieve, or are you gonna stop? Which is, it's okay to rest, but are you gonna go down the mountain or up the mountain? You know what I mean?
See, that's why I think fitness and specifically strength training is so beneficial, because you get that practice every single day. You go to the gym, and there's always this point where you don't want to do the last set, you don't want to do the last rep, and it's just hard, So you're constantly reminding yourself that it's not going to be easy, and you're constantly overcoming that. So then your brain learns, oh yeah, it's hard, but you can overcome. And you're practicing that that's the real magic behind strength training. Is you're getting that look at all the really, really successful business people. They all work out. They're all in really, really good shape. And so why is that? Is it because what's the correlation there? And it's because you're training yourself to remind yourself that it's going to be hard and you're overcoming that. That's all that it is.
I just thought they feel good.
And they feel really good. I mean, there's so many reasons that we can like touch on the benefits that strength training and working out and just moving your body and fueling your body properly, getting the proper sleep can have on your performance in your business and in your hustle. I mean, it's unmatched.
1000%. Yeah, honestly. And besides, it's inspirational because I forgot the philosopher, but it's a Greek, or maybe I'm mistaken. Someone in Europe. He says that the biggest sin that you can commit is not seeing the full potential that your body can be.
Oh yeah.
But he said it more specifically towards a man. Like the biggest sin of a man is not knowing what his full body is capable of.
Yeah.
And yeah, I 1000% agree. Yeah, 1,000,000,000% agree. We as human, we have a lot of potential, and it's up to you if you really want to tackle it. And now that I've known what kept you in the hustle, what started the hustle and stuff like that, what would be an advice you would give yourself when you started? Like maybe, and what point? Like maybe not 12-year-old you, because 12-year-old you will be like, oh, that's really cool, Kalvin, cool. So I'm gonna become a men's health coach, cool. All right, cool. And then he's just gonna go back minding his own business, right? But what would be an advice when you like a younger version of you, maybe when you were 1 year into the business, or maybe the beginning of the business? What would have gotten you where you're at right now a lot more simple, or however you want to describe it? What would be an advice that you would give yourself in general?
Just learn from people who've done it before.
Learn from people who've done it before.
I mean, all of my great progress that I've had in anything across life is talking to someone who's been in the position that I want. Now, this is difficult because you don't just want to listen to anyone's advice, because everyone's giving you advice. Everyone's telling you to do stuff, right? So don't listen to people that aren't where you want to be. Mm-hmm. Go find the people that are where you want to be, and then just, all right, teach me, pay them, quickest way from point A to point B.
1000%. Okay. So don't reinvent the wheel, pick their brains and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Have a second opinion and whatnot. Yeah. Preach it, brother. I 1%.
And I think that, one of the things, so we have different levels, and in my brain, I have different levels of purpose, okay, right? So we have like a little bit of like, what's your drive for the hustle? It's a little bit like, for my clients, or, for my own, pursuit of business or whatever. But, for me, the underlying purpose is, what I believe is that Jesus was who he says he was. Okay, so you can fundamentally come to whatever conclusion you want to come to about life, because that is the most important thing. Why do we do anything? Asking yourself the three most important questions, like, what are we doing here? Why are we here? And what happens when we die? And that's literally why we do anything. I mean, the reason why people pursue fitness, right, is because they don't want to die, or they want to preserve their lives a little bit longer, make their lives better before they die. Everything that we do revolves around us dying, The purpose of everything that I do is like, all right, well, what happens? How do I answer these three questions? Okay, well, there's a lot of different ideas out there. Which one's true? How do we know what's true? Okay, well, one of the things is like Jesus said, he's the way, the truth, and the life. Okay, well, is that true? Okay, well, go look at the information. Go study that for yourself, And what I believe, and the faith that I've been given, I believe is, I believe that he was who he says he was. And who he says he was he was the Son of God. He was God himself in the flesh, and that the only way to him is that he's the way, the truth, and the life. And no one comes through to God but through him. And so that's my motivation. That's my entire purpose. And one of the things so that's my first principle. And then you start deriving different aspects from that truth. Okay, so once you have your first principle established, the other things you believe are all stem from that thing. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I believe is that the man has a specific role that God has given him that's different from the woman. And he has 4 specific roles. He's the prophet, he's the priest, he's the provider, and he's the protector. And so my main role for hustling as a whole, number 1, is because I was created to hustle. God has created man to work. He's created man to cultivate the ground. He has created us to build and to sweat and to create things, to bear his image. So God is spirit, right? And so he said, you know what? Let's personify the spirit by creating the physical. So then he creates time and matter, time, space, and matter. Okay, and that's us. So we have the ability now to represent the image of God. And so one of the ways that we do that is by the hustle, by working hard and just cultivating the ground. So that's one of the reasons is like, I think it's embedded in every male to go out there and hustle, go out there and get it. There's competition out there. Like that's why we're competitive. It's like, oh, cool. I want to hustle harder than you. Just let's go, let's work for it. So that's one of the reasons. And then I think the other reason is like, look, if push comes to shove, and I'm a shopping cart pusher at Costco or HEB or wherever, I'm going to do that, just as I'm going to hustle with that just as much as I'm doing with what I'm hustling now. Because I also not only have an obligation to be an image bearer of God, but I also have an obligation to be a protector and a provider for my family. And so, so like whatever it takes to provide financially for my family, whatever it takes to protect them financially, that's why I do what I do. And so if it really is just a means to an end. And it's a means to an end that, again, it doesn't highlight myself. And I think that that's the difference between the way that I look at things and maybe the way that someone who doesn't believe what I believe looks at things, is they're like, I'm in the hustle for me. I'm in the hustle to prove it to myself, to prove it to the world that I am blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's not about me. It's about bearing God's image, and it's about providing and being the man that God has called me to be for my family. And I can do that whether I'm a health coach, whether I'm pushing carts at Costco, whatever it takes. That's why I hustle.
World domination.
World domination.
1,000%.
Jesus is going to dominate the world, and so I'm ready for that.
1,000%. Okay, not gonna lie to you, dude. You got me very invested with that speech.
Good.
You got me so invested. I was like, yeah, preach it, sister, preach it. You almost got me like standing up with the light, like it's a concert. Like, yeah,
right. Let's
continue.
go. That's right. It's a deep purpose because it's true.
Oh gosh, no! If you really believe it, I run 1,000%. Like I felt it. I was like, yeah. I was gonna turn off the lights and everything. Get the. It's just like this guy's preaching. Might just want to make it into a remix.
That's right.
So I loved it, bro. So now that we have learned so much, and by the way, we're almost at the end of the podcast, and I had a blast having a conversation with you, bro. I really did.
Yeah, dude.
It's the same thing as that one meeting. So yes, we have some really good conversations. So 1,000%. God, man. I have like 20 billion more questions, but to be honest with you, maybe they'll be in a separate session.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got 4 minutes left, so now I'll ask a question to you.
Okay. Well, actually, it's now your shout out. Anything you want to promote at all for the last 30 seconds?
Shout out?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Anything you want to promote yourself, somebody else? I mean, you kind of shout out a lot of different creators, to be honest with you. But I mean, this is your time.
Cool. All right. So the best way you can find me and understand what I do is you can follow me on Instagram. That's my main platform. So it's at Long Haul Coaching. And the at is, for people who don't know Instagram, that's the handle. So it's just Long Haul Coaching. Sounds or spelled exactly how it sounds. And it's a picture of me and a horse. So just to prove that I'm from Texas.
Okay.
Yep. And then I post on LinkedIn periodically too, as well. And then I offer free, health audits for people. I have a free guide to joint pain, and I just have a lot of free stuff. So if you're interested in that free stuff, we can also get on a free health audit call. Just let's talk, man.
Honestly, 350 free sounds like the best price ever.
Oh yeah, and dude,
you cannot compete with 350 free.
No.
350 free.
That's right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and I appreciate you, Kalvin, for coming over here. I really do appreciate you taking the time, not just talk about what ignited and stuff like that, but also giving the advice that you have given us. And nonetheless, I'll see you guys next time, and thank you for listening to Born to Hustle.